On November 9th, 1989, a Politburo member, one of the leaders of the GDR named Günter Schabowski, gave a press conference in which he made a big mistake. He was asked by a Western reporter, will there be new visa regulations that allow people, some people, limited numbers of people to leave East Germany? And he said, yes, those regulations have now been changed and people can leave as they want. And this was a mistake because, in fact, he didn't know what he was trying to express. The press didn't. But it also confused the border guards at the Berlin Wall, so that when first tens and then hundreds and then thousands of people went to the Berlin Wall and asked the border guards, can we leave? Suddenly, it was possible to leave. The border guards didn't know what was going on, and so they ushered the people through, and the more people that crossed into West Berlin, the more there was no way that you could stop this wave of people who, simply out of curiosity, wanted to go to this other city that was just over this immense wall. In fact, there were a number of events that were happening in that part of Europe at this time, actually beginning around the spring of 1989, that set the stage. One event was simply the fact that the East German government was allowing slowly, more and more people to go to the West for short visits. At the same time, there was, and I remember feeling it when I was in East Berlin at this time, there was a feeling of looseness. I think because of the rise and success of Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union, there was a feeling of sort of looseness in the air, where for the first time, people were voicing their complaints publicly about their government. The Hungarian government decided of its own accord, with no consultation with the Soviet Union or with any other communist country, that it was going to open the border between Hungary and Austria. Hungary in the east, Austria in the west. It opened its border and basically let anybody that wanted to walk from Hungary over to Austria. And it was also accompanied by this personality, Mikhail Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev in October came to East Berlin and he told the East German government, he used these words, those who come too late are punished by history. Those who come too late are punished by history. And what he was saying, and this was on the 40th anniversary of East Germany's existence, what he was saying is to the East German government, you've got to catch up, guys. You've got to recognize that you can't rule in the same way that you've been ruling in the past. You've got to recognize that if you are to survive, if you're not going to be punished by history, that it's high time for you to think about reforming your economy, reforming your politics, and thinking in new ways about your responsibility to your people. This was tremendously embarrassing for the East German government. The first time I went to East Germany was actually in 1973, and I was a 19-year-old kid then. I was studying in West Berlin, and but for me the most exciting thing was I go to the Berlin Wall, and I knew that for just paying a little bit of money and exchanging some currency, I could go over to East Berlin. And it was like going to an anti-Disneyland. It was like going to a country that was so strange and different that I wanted to know about what made it work. It was almost like you were in color television in the West. You go to East Germany and everything was in black and white. And people would look at you and they'd see your clothes and they'd think, wow, what is that? So later on, in the 1980s, I started to go to East Germany on a regular basis. As a scholar, I was specializing in the politics of East Germany. And when I went, I was slowly able to break through this kind of code of silence that had limited East German scholars from talking to people like me. I was privileged because I came from the United States. These people were less suspicious about the United States than they were about West Germany. I was privileged as an American to be able to talk with these people and with social scientists and historians in East Germany. So I was privileged to be in the point to get to know both the government on one level and the people on another. They were filled with excitement just to have the opportunity to leave their country, to go to West Berlin, which was in the center of East Germany. Just the whole spirit of being able to choose how to lead their lives. There was this realization that suddenly this coming together of two countries, theirs and West Germany, that hadn't had ties for nearly half a century. And throughout the 1990s, East Germans became convinced that they were second-class citizens, that they were Germans, to be sure, but they were the lesser Germans. They were the poor cousins from the East who were suddenly generously brought into the West German economy and West German culture. And on the other hand, many West Germans gave them reason to feel inferior because for many West Germans, these were poor cousins. These were people that perhaps they had never had any ties with. So the big question mark for Germany in the coming decades is going to be, what happens to this chunk of it that suddenly was brought together into unified Germany? What happens to it? Then there is also this little island in the middle of East Germany, and that's Berlin. Berlin is the capital of Germany, but half of it was ruled by communists. Now that city is reunified within this chunk of Germany, Eastern Germany. And I think down the road, many Germans are going to have to ask themselves, what do you do, firstly, what do you do with the people who live in this part of Germany? Secondly, and this is really a key question, what do you do with the history of this part of Germany? How do you come to terms with it? Do you try to deal with the fact that this part of Germany was ruled by a dictatorship for 40 years? Or do you just ignore it and pretend that it never happened?